playing. Yes. Show me what you've got. Time.
Hey everyone, Mason here. So I thought I'd make a quick update on my build. Last night I killed the Expedition Tier 1 boss and the Breach Tier 1 boss. But I'll just start with some changes to the skill tree that I made. So previously we were pathing through the energy shield nodes. I decided to swap over to the minion damage nodes again, because there's actually a lot of increased damage that I was missing from the tree. So I think I started at around 200 increased minion damage, and then I got to about 300 now. We can check with the minions right here. Yeah, about 314%. And we lost about 100% minion life. I think it's around 80%. But so far it doesn't seem to be a big issue. Also taking this wheel here. So I did some calculations on this wheel here, and this wheel at the very top Turns out this one's actually the best in terms of point efficiency. I think it gives about 30% quicker total regen, like you would heal for full if you take 6,000 damage, which is my energy shield. So it's basically like, it would be 30% faster for me to heal to full if I took 6,000 damage to my ES. Some of the things I did to upgrade the build a bit, it's still block capped. I hit 90 fire res. How do you actually do this? It's pretty straightforward. You need these +2 max fire res jewels with block chance on them. They're very expensive. I think they're like a div each basically. But you basically balance this with soul cores on your gear that give back +1 max fire res, and that allows you to hit 90 fire res. I did actually test the Sanctum jewel, the Sanctum ring. I think it was this one here. It says fire resistance is unaffected by area penalties, but this doesn't seem to work on the maps that say minus max fire res. So it's kind of useless, to be honest. So there's not really any point of running this since it doesn't actually stop your fire res from getting, like your max fire res from getting diminished. So yeah, that one's gone back in the cell chest, but it was worth a test. In terms of gems, I am testing a new set of gems. For the Hound, I'm testing Demolisher with Splinter, and I was using Lacerate for a bit, but I think Meat Shield does more damage with the burn, so I've stuck to Meat Shield. Maimon Culling Strike are still on the Hound. Pain Offering is the same, except I am running Expanse for the more area effect instead of Magnified effect, because I'm running that on DD. Everything else is still the same. I have been testing Bone Offering. So Bone Offering is an interesting one because it says that it gives your minions a shield, and then when they get hit, the shield explodes, and it actually does a decent chunk of physical damage. It does 1,000 to 2,000 base fizz. That's a lot of physical damage, and it seems to be actually relatively good for clearing. If you jump onto a pack with all your minions, and then you place Bone Offering onto them, the shields will explode, and it will actually clear a little bit. I'm just mainly testing it for the stun build-up. I'm curious if you Bone Offering when a boss is about to do an AoE, and then all your minions, their shields get popped instantly. I wonder if that's like a big shit ton of stun, because it does a lot of stun build-up. So for that one, I'm supporting it with Font of Blood for some regen, Overpower for the more stun build-up, and Physical Mastery, because there's nothing else really that's good to be put on Bone Offering. This one's still a work in progress. So far, it's actually been relatively good for clear. I would Leap Slam onto a pack of mobs, and then spawn all my minions under me, pop Bone Offering, and then they will explode the pack. And then I will then Leap Slam and pull, basically, despawn all my minions, and then carry them off to the next pack, more or less. Leap Slam is still the same. Skeletal Reaver is still the same. I did end up dropping a Perfect Jeweler. Let me see if I can find it. So I did end up dropping a Perfect Jeweler. I'm currently still holding on this because I think it will still go up in price. But it's very likely I will use it on my Skeletal Reaver once I've decided to use it. But at the moment, it's still on a 5 link. Sniper is still the same. Lightning Fusion, Chaos Mastery, Feeding Frenzy, and Fire Mastery. And I was testing Skeletal Cleric a little bit. But I'll be honest, with Bone Offering and the Font of Blood, I feel like the Cleric is pretty useless. If you just play your Bone Offerings correctly and you have your minions immune the AoE slams, it's pretty easy. Like they don't need the Cleric at all. So I'm probably going to remove that. I was also testing Eye of Winter with Unleash. But Eye of Winter with Unleash, it's good, but I ran out of slots. But since I'm taking out the Cleric, it's likely that I'll put it back in. Alright. That mostly covers the key changes. So mainly the skill tree now has a lot more damage, taking damage nodes here, taking damage nodes here, and taking these damage nodes here. It's a lot more damage. It's basically 40% to 50% more damage than before. And then the gems were changed a little bit for testing. I also did some massive gear upgrades. I think maybe around 10 divines worth of gear. Most of them were from crafting gear, crafting like scepters, getting lucky, you know, selling. I think I sold a 3-div scepter. I sold a 3-div chest piece. I sold a belt for 2-div. Like I sold a bunch of gear. It's actually not that hard to craft. You just hit it with an essence, and if it's good, you continue it, and if it's bad, you just go next. So scepter had a gear upgrade. The only thing that's relevant on this is mainly just I got one with good increased damage, similar to my old one. It has level 4 minion skill gems, but it has a lot more spirit. So previously I had, I think it was 12 minions. So 9 to 6 at the moment. It was 9 to 4 before, so it's 13 minions. So that gives me 2 more minions because they all cost 28. To calculate your reservation costs, all you really need to do is just see how much spirit you have remaining, and then add that to the cost of take that away from the cost of your gem, which is 28, and then you can just basically just add another 28 onto that to see how much threshold you need to hit to get one extra minion, and then add another 28 onto that. So that's how you do that. So in terms of the actual calculations, I think I was at 120 and I had 12 remaining spirit. You go 28 minus 12 is 16. So you need 16 more to get to the next bracket to get an extra minion. So it'll be 120 plus 16. And then after every iteration after that, it will be plus 28 because each minion is 28. So I now have 2 extra minions, which is good damage. My helmet, this one I crafted myself. It's just got a little bit more ES than the previous one I had. I think that one's in the cell tab. This one's the one I previously had. It's probably not worth 2 divines, but it's 191 versus 200 ES. There's like basically no difference, but it is an upgrade. So I swapped it over to this one. I will just mention I am extremely overcapped in res. The only reason why is so that I can do elemental weakness, and I can also do that ritual chaos fog that lowers your max res. So it lowers your res in general. I don't think it's max res. But lightning is a little bit less overcapped than the rest of them. And that's because I swapped to this helm. But they're just so overcapped, it really doesn't matter. I think you need around 91 to get to remove the effects of elemental weakness maps. My amulet, I think this one I showed already. The anoint, I forgot to mention it previously, but it is this block ES on block anoint. Not too sure how good it is, but so far it seems to be relatively impactful, so I'm keeping it. This breach ring is just an extremely good res ring. 22% all LE res, 58% fire res, 12% cast speed. Rest of it's irrelevant. This one was crafted myself, I think. I hit it with an essence, elemental essence, and it hit the fire res. And then when I regaled it, I think I got the elemental ore res. So it's just being lucky. This one here was the same ring I was using before. It's just res. This one here is just a bit more ES and a bit more res compared to the one I previously had. It was just mainly so that I could overcap my res to make sure that I wasn't dying to elemental weakness maps. Not even dying, sorry. It just makes it like much safer to do them. And this one's the same here. A bit more energy shield, a bit more cold res, a bit more lightning res. It's more or less the same thing. And I think this one here I cropped it myself. It's got max fire res +1. Not much to say about it. But I will say that the skill tree change has been a massive increase in damage. For context, if you guys are referencing, about 8,000 DPS on the Reaver auto attack, and I think it's around 7,000. Yep, 7k on the Sniper auto attacks. So pretty high DPS. Previously, I think the Reaver was about 5k and the Sniper was about 4k. So more or less doubling my damage, or timesing up by about 50 to 70%. And that's purely just from moving these energy shield nodes over to these minion nodes. Grabbing some more damage here, these 3 nodes here, grabbing some more damage here, these 3 nodes here. And that's basically it. I will say that I'm still not too sure about pathing through crit. Although the crit chance node, this one here in particular, is extremely point efficient. But the issue is that the Reavers don't really have very good base crit. So I think they're at 5% crit. Yep. So 5% crit. It says 30% crit damage bonus. I'm not sure if that's bugged or not. Because I heard they had a change recently that fixed that in the patch notes. But crit chance is like... not too sure about it right now, mainly because the base crit on these mobs are really low. But I do have a Malice Scepter, so that does help. And you can actually use Eye of Winter with Unleash to instantly max stack the critical weakness debuff on the boss. And then use Malice. The Malice will constantly refresh it and make sure it's stuck at 10 stacks. In terms of what to do next for the skill tree, there's these damage nodes down here that I was thinking about pathing down to. This aura effect node is also pretty good, but it doesn't affect Pain Offering, which was found on Reddit. So that's still not sure if it's worth the, whatever it is, 7 points I think it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 points to path down there to grab those nodes. These nodes here I originally was not putting in, but these actually seem to be pretty good because they give they make your region a lot more comfy. These nodes here, when the calculations I did them, I think they're about an extra, so it goes from 30% faster, so compared to having none of these nodes, by taking these top 3 nodes, you get about 30% faster regen basically, total regen, including the startup time and the regen time, the recharge time. And these ones get it to about 40%. So it's about 10% increase extra in terms of the delay, like a 10% reduction kinda. But it's 4 points. It's a lot of points, and I'm not really sure if it's worth it. So that's still kind of, we'll think about that one, see if it's worth running. But yeah, I think that more or less covers the build. The build does a decent chunk of DPS now. I think I killed Trial Master. I think I was doing about 200k against Trial Master when I was testing. I also did the We Are 1 boss. That was like really easy because it was the level 1 boss, and I think my gear's like way too good for that. So that kind of boss kind of fell over. I did the Expedition boss, which I think had about 6 million HP, like 2 phases of 3 million each. That boss also died extremely quick. Extremely trivial fight. In terms of tankiness, we lost, I think, around 5,000 ES for the extra damage increase, which is about 40% more damage, which in my opinion is 100% worth it. But I haven't died in maps, so it still doesn't really matter, because especially with the 90% ore res and a very high overcap to ignore elemental weakness, even if you have like the minus max res maps, you still have 75 ore res, so 75 fire res, which is then getting used by the Altered Flesh node on the Infernalist tree. So yeah, very happy with the build. A lot more damage now. I am going to probably I'm trying to fish for Ritual King of the Mist key, but that shit is like super hard to find. I literally have no clue how people are getting it. It's so rare. But we're going to keep trying that, and we're going to try and farm Ritual, I think, because I think Omens have a lot of money in them. But yeah, I think that mostly covers the update to the build. I will say with Bone Offering, you don't actually need to DD as much. So you can press Bone Offering on the back. Your mobs will explode when they get hit. They'll do good damage and it'll clear. And you just DD like the remaining targets, which is like generally not really needed. But DD does help with Breach and Expedition, which is kind of the main point of it. And I think it does solve those two mechanics, although the build is not the fastest for Breach, simply because of the way Minion AI works. But for Expedition, it's very comfy. That's what I've been mostly doing. For Ritual, it's extremely comfy, because you can just AFK and just hold right-click for my DD key and just mow everything down. So I would still recommend this kind of Minion setup if you don't want to die and you want to ignore basically every single Chaos damage that you could see, as well as being extremely tanky and having very good DPS compared to other Minion builds I've been seeing. For future scaling, I was thinking crit. We will test it a bit, see how crit feels. I'm sure it'll be okay once I get some of the crit damage notes, but the question is, where do I sacrifice on the tree to get those? And I still have to do some planning and have to have a look into that. Alright, that's enough rambling from me. Thanks for listening, and if there's any questions, just chuck them in the comments.